Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our Blended Family Truths podcast. As far as something that I feel like would have helped us all do better from a parenting perspective, from a co-parenting, and then even as individuals, honestly, I really wish that there had been purposeful time for healing for these two. Okay. And that us collectively...
Before he got married?
I
got married?
I'm just saying me coming in, the way that things started, like you two, again, we've talked about this. You didn't even talk when he and I met and married, right? We were exchanging the kids in front of the courthouse. It was not an amicable place. And like all the information that I got, like there's a lot of Jayla's, and again, the boys, we haven't really talked about with the boys, but I feel like my relationship with Jayla was extremely hindered from a lot of perspective. A big part of that being that a lot of my parenting style for her, with her being the only girl originally, right, was tied to two different things. One, obviously, as we've discussed, my experience growing up and what I did and did not have, as far as my relationship with my mom. But secondly, all the information that I had as far as what the situation was, and I'll say it in my words, not, but what may have been needed from my role as her bonus mom in the house on a daily basis, the information that I got, I only got his perspective. And his perspective of what happened with y'all, like when we did get to a place when you and I could talk, and when we did get to a place even, and we alluded to this a little bit before, like when Eric was leaving for the military, was one of the first times that you and I, by ourselves, had a woman-to-woman small conversation about some of the things that happened with you and Tyrone. And it was because Tyrone had showed Eric the divorce papers before, when Eric was going to the military. And Eric was extremely upset. And it was because he got one version of what happened from him and a different version of what happened from you. And each of you two had your own perspective of what happened. And the truth is likely in the middle, is usually where it usually is. But me having his perspective only, at least from as far as what happened in you all's marriage, and particularly because Jayla was only 5 when we got married, things that he told me as far as what she had been exposed to and things that had happened relative to when she was with you. And of course, he didn't tell me, and I didn't have the context of like what happened with his previous relationship was his context. You and I didn't have conversations, of course, until this podcast, as far as impacts that you experienced from when he was engaged prior to us. But having
he was engaged prior to us.
Yeah. Oh,
y'all was engaged
for like 10 minutes.
And that's the problem.
Really?
Baby daddy's always be like, my baby mama crazy. She blah, blah, blah.
You offered to marry that chick?
That is crazy. That's insane.
Let's talk about that real quick.
No, we ain't even got to talk about that because, like,
thank you. Can I just finish?
Yeah, see, if you would have married that lady, I'm not even gonna lie, I would be in jail. Okay, mom, look, we gotta stop. She should have never said that. I mean, now,
everybody,
he gonna come back the next episode. Be healing.
I definitely need some therapy now.
No.
So my point is this.
But see, you're messing with the church's money.
I don't even know what that's supposed to be.
I don't either.
But okay. My point being is that your perception of who I was and why I did what I did, Jayla's perception of who I was and why I did what I did as a bonus mom and in the house, you're missing big pieces of context that I had based on information that I had been given by our common factor, my lovely husband.
Y'all baby daddy.
The baby daddy has always seemed to be the problem the issue.
My deal is this. Had you all been in a different place, so I'm saying for all the blended families out there, to get to a real place, and again, all for the children's healing, right? You all are now at a place where you can talk through stuff. And again, through this podcast, you two have gotten to a place of healing, in my opinion, that I've sat here and watched. Now, let's just be very honest. I had to be willing to allow it, right? I have to be comfortable going, I'm okay with my husband's ex-wife being in the space and for the sake of my children and for the
having a
sake of our
straight razor
family.
on your neck.
All of that, you know what I mean? And so it takes it, which again, there are lots of people who watch, I literally, the other week in Springfield, somebody was like, you are crazy. Ain't no way. Ain't none. And I'm like, that's fine. That's your perspective. I'm going to do what I believe God has called me to do and still walk in what has been called for me. I understand not every blended family, they may not want to get and may not be able to get to the same place. But I feel a big component of what is missing for completion of understanding and then subsequent healing in multiple areas is tied to y'all don't understand some of the information that I was given in the beginning that was his truth and his perspective that I took as fact that may not be your truth and your perspective and your fact because it was just his side. So I'm saying I believe that had there been a different place of healing and understanding, and not to dig and be nosy, but for understanding for the purpose of doing better co-parenting. You see what I mean? Because his perspective of what went on and what led to y'all's divorce and what happened after you all's divorce is different than yours. And
she cut all the Nike signs out my socks.
Crazy. Well, if I could interject, not the Nike signs out of your socks. So I agree. You know, Jessica said this while she was talking like 4 times, and I never really thought about it. But I do believe, Jeri, had we been able to have some healing and been able to have conversations about how we got to where we were and how do we move forward, I do think that would have been helpful. And to Jess's point, I think that it's important. And as you said, all blended families may not get to this point.
And it may not be feasible,
yeah, it
workable, may not be the right.
But if you can strive, and I think we've talked about this, Jeri, I think if people can strive to understand that we had our ought. You know, we made the decision to go our separate ways. However, the children did not make that decision.
Right.
Well, y'all can't argue about it now.
But their perspective, part of what was difficult too, in my opinion, is that that's what Eric got so upset about, right? So when you purposely kept that file because you had talked about this from the very beginning, and I knew you had it. You had it in the safe because you were like, when it comes time, when they have questions about what happened, I need them to be able to read with their own eyes because you can't dispute black and white, right? And so, but it was coming from a defense place where I'm just suggesting that when people do have the opportunity for it to be more amicable and more offensive than defensive for the sake of the kids, it's less traumatic for the children.
No, I
and
agree with
if
that.
the adults can if there is an opportunity, I understand that there's a lot of scenarios. I understand there's a lot. I mean, because my mom said my dad physically abused her. My dad was like, what are you talking about? Like, seriously. But to this day, that my mom would say that's part of the reason why they got divorced. My dad never owned that, you know. And so then I'm in the middle. I love my mom. I love my dad. I believe my mom. And I'm looking at and so the tendency was for me to look at my dad and go, okay, you know, just based on other stuff. But it caught me in the middle, and I just wanted to understand. So I'm using my own experience as the example of, I know, like for Eric, that's where it was. Jayla, you know, my firstborn, he came to a point where he was trying to understand, where is my daddy at? And why didn't the two of y'all just, you know, because when he was going through what he was going through, and when I had to say, well, this is what happened. It was from my perspective. Now, if you ask his father, right, his father's going to have a different perspective, right?
But that's sure why I keep my screenshots now, dog. Screenshots.
But, I mean, it's always going to be the child is literally, if they're around that particular parent, they're going to catch the ear of that person more than the other one that's not around as much or few and far between. So, I mean, I kept our divorce file, and when that situation happened, I pulled it out here.
And even as we're sitting here, when Jessica said that, I thought about even having that. It's written from two different perspectives.
It is.
It's written, the motion.
Because y'all have mediators.
No.
He had an attorney.
At the end, but regardless of that, whenever there was a motion to modify whatever there was, it was written either from her perspective or my perspective.
Yeah.
So it was written, I said this happened, she said that happened, and here's why we're back.
Yeah.
And so I think, to Jessica's point, and to both of your points, the important piece is if you can have that amicable conversation with your children, if at all possible, sitting there saying, "Hey,"
I'm saying even so. Once they they weren't 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, and 9. That's not. But I'm saying even from the perspective of my disposition, quite frankly, of you in the beginning was not a positive one based on information he had given me.
No, I'm agreeing with that.
And so I'm saying, but that context is missing, right? And so Jeri's perspective of me too, all she's doing is getting information from the kids. She didn't know me as a person. I didn't know her as a person. Shoot, we didn't know each other as people. We were met and married in less than 90 days. And so that, our dynamics again are totally different. So for people that have a different opportunity to avoid or to be able to be in a different disposition so that it's not taking 22 years to be able to peel back some of the layers and to be able to avoid unnecessary drama and perceptions, if you have the ability for the adults to be in a better place of healing, which then also and be in agreement on, because think about how would it have been had you all been in a place where you could have sat down with the kids and had a conversation with them together. Like, this is what happened. This is how this went down, which means the two of y'all would have had to have been in a place to discuss that up front and come to agreement and say, for the health of our kids, so that they can have healing and closure and know that this wasn't about them, or know that this is what happened. In my opinion, learning all that we've learned, that would have been, I believe, the best opportunity and option could that have occurred, so that the kids are able to go, okay,
I mean, and it is very true. And going back to what I said, because things did not happen the way they were supposed or should have or could have and would have happened, we now have traumatized our kids.
Yeah.
And so now we're living this.
But now
trauma,
also trying to
and trying to help her heal through it.
Now I'm a basket case.
Yes.
Mugs is crazy.
So trying to help her heal through it and being able to say, oh, okay. I mean, that's your truth and that's your feelings, and your feelings are valid. And, oh, wow, that's how she saw it. And, oh my, it's really making you internalize me. It makes me internalize me as a mother. And it just like, oh my God.
I think the other piece of it too, and particularly now that you all are grown, and the other part of your questions, Wendy, that is sometimes hard to grapple with. Like, I had to come to terms with the fact that it's hurtful when you look back. And when I got to a point to where I realized that growing up, I thought my mom was the coolest thing on the planet because I could do everything, right? Yeah, and to all my friends, my mom was the coolest mom on the planet until I had my kid. And then I get a reality check on what a parent's supposed to be, and I realize,
oh, wow.
I love my mother, and my mother loved me, and that foundationally love all the way. But all the other parental responsibilities, we were a big... that was not what it should have been.
D+.
And so you didn't, Nana's gonna get you for that. But my point being, I also, in spite of understanding the fact that my parents didn't do what I believe they should have done, and had the wherewithal to do it, was choices. I still also had to take accountability for choices that I made, regardless of what was going on with my parents. I had good sense, and all of our kids have good sense. Now they may not always make good decisions. So the other part too of becoming an adult is owning your own stuff and taking accountability, and then being willing to go to that point. Also being willing to, when we hit this wash, like I also, because at first I used to argue my mom down. Mom, that is not what. And now when we get to that point where her perspective is her perspective and memory and mine is mine, I go, okay, I just let her kind of go. So as you said earlier, Jeri, it's kind of that old school. Our generation, there was a different type of level of reverence and respect. And so I'm using the same words. I think you used those words earlier too, right? That kind of no matter what was going on with your parents, you know, we were taught to have a certain level, I guess, unless we're just way kind of crazy, buck wild crazy, which y'all's generation, I feel like it is different.
It's very lax.
It is different. And so when you're trying to figure all that out as a parent, and you're trying to go, how can I do better as a parent? How can I hold him accountable to do better as a parent? And we've never gotten to that place where we're holding each other accountable from a parenting style or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? As far as Jeri and I, but had they been in a different place of being able, and had we been in a different place so they could be in a different place as far as co-parenting, that would have helped the kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does.
And I'll add one more thing, and then it'll be short, and then you can ask your next question is, one of the things that happened recently that was hurtful to me, and it's something that Jeri, you and I created, was that we recently had, you know, Jayla, you're 27 now. And we had our first parental outing with you at 27 years old. You have never in your life had a time.
No.
Had a time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the very
that
first
was
time
the very
that the
first
two
time
of y'all and her have ever done anything.
Ever done anything
ever having
in her entire
something
life.
with just her two biological parents. Ever. Because I brought it to his attention because the first time I ever sat down with Jayla and her and
talked
his
about it
dad,
at the range,
he
didn't
was
we?
18 or 19, and I was like, this is not good.
And so to that point, this is exactly why, viewers, that it's important to have that amount of communication, that any communication that will help bridge the gap for the betterment of your children. As Jeri said, we've scarred our children, not intentionally, but we've done it unintentionally. And watch this, for our own selfish reasons. And that's just hands down. We did that for our own selfish reasons. We didn't communicate. We involved other people. We allowed competing people to be involved with our decisions related to how our children were being reared, how we communicated to our children. Jeri, you could attest to this. We had friends fall away, friends take her side, friends take my side, and all of those things impacted how we governed, how we reared our children. And in the middle of it, we were just trying to survive, but did not understand the carnage that we were creating.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. I mean, I know we had made had that conversation that one time in Springfield, and when you were, going through your rebellious stage of whatever, and you wanted he and I to be back together or together. But
that was I never experienced y'all together, and I hate that y'all be like, you wanted us to be back, but y'all wasn't, because y'all asked me the question. No. Because y'all keep saying that. She wanted us to be back together. She wanted
that was your answer. So why are you acting like that?
So what was the question? What was the question? If me and mom get a divorce today, would you guys want me and your mom to get back together?
That's not what the question was.
So that wasn't the question. So that wasn't the question.
How would you feel if we were to get a divorce? That's what the question was.
Would you want me and your mom to get back together? That was the question. You asked me and Dominic that. Sitting at 63 Buckhorn in the living room. Y'all asked that. So now it's I want y'all to be together and I want y'all to be your family.
See different perspectives.
You were sitting in the living room with us.
That's not the question.
But now it's y'all, you wanted I ain't never experienced y'all together. Y'all was not together when I was cognitive. Like
I didn't ask the
so
question,
now but this is what happens a lot. This is what has happened so many times. Stuff like this will happen and then now y'all take it and run with it and be like, see, she wanted us to be back together. That's why she acting like that. She acting like that because she want I never even said nothing like that till you asked the question and I said, yeah, why not? I wouldn't mind it. Now it's, I knew it this whole time. She wanted them to be back together. That's why she don't like me. And that's why we going through all
First of all, you being a little over animated because that is not how I responded. So you can just chillax on
that's how you say it now. That I feel like now you didn't like me because you wanted your parents to be back together. Whole time, y'all ain't never been together since I known y'all.
Right, and we weren't. But I didn't know that that I didn't realize that. And
you didn't realize what?
That we had not had a unit entity to
an outing. You have an individual time with just your biological parents, spending time with just
because that really does that. I mean, yeah, and I say that a lot. And when people do say that, I learned that when people say it is what it is what it is, but it is something that really does affect us.
And it's a complicated thing to walk.
So I apologize because I wasn't in a place, and he wasn't in a place. But now that we're in a place, we can go back to the range and shoot all you want.
Long as you ain't shooting
at me. The reality is that when people are
Mm-hmm.
remarried too, you have to the bonus parents. Everybody has to be in a place because there has to be trust. There has to be there's just a lot of dynamics for blended families, and this is the whole reason why we've been doing this. There's a lot of layers and dynamics.
A lot of blended families that the people don't trust each other with the spouse or the new person or whatever. Yeah. There's no trust.
Well,
and when trust, I mean, now with a lot of people,
there's a lot of you have to understand what the appropriate boundaries are for your family and your situation. Right. To keep your space safe, right? Because you just do. So it may not always be a feasible thing for whatever reasons, So there's a lot of layers to it that people have to navigate and understand. Which again, if you talk up front and figure things out up front, so that you can try to facilitate.
But it all boils down to respect and trust.
Maturity.
You have to respect and trust each other as adults to be able to get past that so that you can actually communicate. Because if there's no respect, you're not going to communicate. If there's no trust, you're not going to communicate. But how do you get to the trust?
The only way to get to trust is through relationship building.
Right.
Because I'm not going to trust you if I don't know you.
Right.
And so if the adults don't take the time that goes back to my exact point. Number one, had the bio parents, who are now co-parenting, if they haven't worked through to a place of acceptable healing, let's use that phrase, right? To where they have an amicable relationship to then pull in the bonus parents on one or both sides, then no. Ninja, you ain't going nowhere.
It's either to have chaos so you can be out of sight, out of mind, than it is for you to be like, you know what, we did do each other wrong. That's what that is.
Yeah.
You said it's what?
I said it's easier to have chaos, so it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't got to deal with her. He don't got to deal with me. We don't like each other. Keep it like that.
Maybe for some people,
but that's what I'm saying.
Right. No, I think she's making the point that for people in general.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying y'all. I'm not saying y'all.
I know, but I'm saying I understand why that may be the case for some people. I'm not wired like that. For me, it bothered me. It bothered me out the beginning because most women would have been like, "Oh, he don't talk to her. Cool." That wasn't my response at all. When he told me what it was, I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, this is not going to work. I'm going to need you to fix this. You have got to deal with this."
I can say this: therapy. Anybody know of a therapist? I'm in need of that.
Okay. I got one for you. I got a couple options for you.
Look, call me.
Okay, Wendy, next one.
So when you see your kids parenting today, so your three, Jayla, Eric, and Jalen, what are some things that you... Dom's kid is not old enough yet.
But he is. They're doing stuff.
We're not
Let her
there
ask
yet.
the question.
We're not there yet with Dom yet.
All right.
But when you see your kids parenting their kids, what
Make
are
sure
some...
your microphone, please. Yeah. No, seriously, it makes a difference.
No, I'm trying to be. When you see your kids parenting their kids, what are some things you feel that they need to change and why?
Ooh.
That's why I said we're not there yet.
Start over.
Right. So, I'm gonna tell you something that the conversation that Jalen and I had one day.
I'm still eating.
There was an incident with the bean, and he was a bit harsh in his technique, and I just simply pulled him aside. I said, "Son, I think this is important." I said, "As your child, do what you want to do." I said, "But the way you just handled her, told her that as a man, this is how she should be handled." Mm-hmm. And she is going to replicate that unless you start fixing that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying that because I learn from my mistakes. So anytime I see a flash in the pan of what I created, then I want to help turn that as best as possible. But with all my children that have children, because I've done an introspective search, I do not want them to repeat subliminally or intentionally anything that I've shown them.
Right.
And it's hard to see some of the things that they have replicated or it appears that they've replicated. So if I could change anything, it's just if I could adjust their temperament. Because yo boo, man, I'm like, bro, no, I can't. I'm like, all right. Next.
Look, mom, right? The list of her hair right now. Me, Jayla, and Eric.
I'm like, which one? Oh, well, if you include Jalen, I guess that would be me. No, you know what?
Ching, 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 ching.
I have learned, number one, I'm in a phase where, I'm just real careful about judging people at this point in life. Mm-hmm. Number one, because
I don't think it's judgment. It's constructive criticism.
No, because y'all call it judgment.
No.
You do.
Sometimes it be constructive criticism.
You do.
Now the judgment is
it's always you
letting her wear that. I wouldn't. Now that's a judgment, not a constructive criticism.
But I've never come from. So from my perspective, everything that I've done as a mother and in my role as a mother has been from a constructive criticism. That's how it's always been intended. But that's not how you all have received it. And even as adults, right? Like I even, and relationships are different, and you and Jalen both will say to me, and Eric too, I think all three of you all have made the statement, you just want everything how you want it. You think everybody's supposed to do things how you think they should be done. And I'm like, well, technically that's how everybody typically is. People speak their opinion on what they think about how something should go, because that's, as an individual, that's what you do. It's no, I'm like, and you think what you're doing is the right way to do it because that's your opinion. But I get my disposition as a parent, you take it as, oh, well, you can't tell me what to do, whatever may have you. And it just all gets kind of jumbled. And so to the question though, as far as what do I think should be done differently, I think that pausing to one, because so many of the things that our adult children, well, all of them are adults, but the oldest children reflect on feeling like we did wrong, I see them doing with their own children on occasion. And it's like, but wait a minute, if it was so horrible, but you're doing the same thing.
Have you brought that to the to light?
Oh, yes. And so from the perspective of, like for instance, y'all talk about how, because again, like I didn't, you all say I used to yell a lot. And so if I was yelling a lot of times,
I never said you used to yell a lot.
It would be to tell y'all to come upstairs or whatnot, but I didn't, like, I feel like that's not how I communicated with y'all, because that's just not
that
even
was my job.
I was gonna say, you didn't yell.
But you all have referenced, yelling, parental yelling, with y'all coming up and how that has impacted you all in certain ways. I know Eric has, I know Jalen has, and I believe you have too. But then I see y'all doing the same thing with y'all kids. And like, and as you know, because I'll even say to you, right, this one, because I'll say what I say it to you, and I say it to Jeri when she's here. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna need you to put down the spirit of Jeri and pick up the spirit of Mom Jess in this moment with Isabel, right? Because we all know Jeri will tell you in 2 seconds, I'll punch you in your throat. Right, exactly. But so I just desire that one, from a blended family perspective, like, okay, let me just stick on the show topic, because I do have a strong opinion that I feel like all of my children, my grown children who are in blended family situations, or are going to be, and I know your situation is different than the other two.
I just wanted to be touched. He's not there. He's gone. He disappeared.
Which is not true. And stop saying that. And you just need to stop saying that. But
she just wanted to be touched.
No. That part is true. I know.
He did disappear. He left. He's not there. He's gone. He don't.
But you was just
Afghanistan.
Right. I'm like, stop it. At least we're not saying it. But my point is that understanding the impact of us not figuring things out from me and Jalen's dad perspective, that didn't get figured out until Jalen lost his first son, until his son died. And that was the first time he and Jalen's bio dad had an amicable conversation, and the first time that somebody decided that I didn't have a kid by just some crazy AZ jackleg who had no common sense at all, right? Stop it. And so, but again, Jalen was 19.
Yeah.
And us, this way with Jeri, I mean, it was sooner than that, being amicable, levels of amicability. And now, of course, we've come way far. But it hurts my heart that with them growing up on a blended family, that there's not a sooner, larger effort for them to create better situations in their blended family scenarios sooner. Now, when the kids are small, to catch it earlier and do better. Understanding it takes, as we say, you have to have willing adults, and the adults have to be mature. So you can't control anybody else. But when your disposition is, or I'm not,
Well, I mean, what about me? Like, I'm literally a single parent. Like, I don't have the luxury of being like, hey, you gonna be with your dad? Like, I don't.
I agree.
And the communication that I've had with dude is just the runaround.
If he's not, you have to have willing participants. I get that. That's why I said your situation is a little bit different. But that's also why anytime you even crack jokes and say, oh, she doesn't have, no, she has a father. Stop saying that. Right? And so, and I understand
she has a donor.
You can't
not a
make,
father.
Okay. Well, however we.
So, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but I want to say this before I forget. Your question was about changing how they rear their children.
Yes. What is something we think we would like to see improved or would change with our adult children and how they.
So I would say, and I think we've hit it several times, not everything we did or said and how we did it was bad. Mm-hmm. And there are things, yes, that I wish we could tamper or tamp down, but there's, things that happen that I see my children deploy and I'm like, that was a good one. And sometimes they don't understand until they have their own children.
True.
And one of the things, with Jayla and I, he despised, we'd be walking across the parking lot or across the street and I would just call their name like, stop. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why are you always yelling at us? I'm like, one day you'll understand. And I've said this before. He showed up at the house and he was like, Dad, I get it now. He was like, one of his girls was running through a parking lot. He could see that a car was coming. They couldn't see. And so he yelled their name and he was like, man. And even with Dawson, he's called me and be like, Dad, I get it now. And so while some of the things that we did were unscripted or just off the cuff, those things are now being replicated with our children.
Your staples.
Yeah. And however, there are things that you all do differently because you were raised, you're growing up in a different time. Mm-hmm. So you have social media babies and you have technology babies. Had we had potentially some of those things, we may have done differently.
You do. Gabby and Dawson.
No. He's saying he's talking about y'all's generation is just
completely
in our opinion, we've talked about this. Social media y'all generation has impacted in a whole different kind of light with the era of social media because everything is free to be me. Put all your stuff out there. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks, and there's just different layers of stuff that change. It changes. I want what I want when I want it now. You think everything is instant. Y'all generation has a different mindset. People think you ain't got to work for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not just talking about what I've seen with y'all, and not that it's there's levels to it. Y'all generation, I had somebody that in our department, you've been there 2 months and talking about a raise, and think you need to, you know what I'm saying? Like the work ethic is different because now everything is internet, social media. I know everything because you got your two favorite assistants, Google and Siri, and you can get access to information online. You don't need nobody. You don't need no wisdom. You don't need no elder. Don't need no counsel because you can just ask Google and Siri and you can form your own opinion. And I'm going to just put out here what I ate, where I'm going, what I'm wearing. I can show up butt naked and just take it. Here, Earth, universe, everybody. This is me and I don't care.
I feel like in y'all generation, I feel like, and I 1,000,000% agree with that, but I feel like in our generation, there's a lack of privacy. In y'all generation, there was nothing but privacy, but on top of privacy, there was secrecy. So because we are much more
privacy, we have privacy. Not in our generation. In our parents'
what happened in my household, stay in my household.
That wasn't how I was raised. Some black people, some households were like that, but that's not how I was raised.
Well, we know Nana was never better brother, always outside. We know that. But if let's take it there. If somebody getting touched by your uncle, what happened here is staying here. But nowadays, somebody touching me, oh yeah, I'm about to blast you because you're not about to be walking around me crazy. What are you talking about?
That's fair.
Work ethic. A lot of people out here, we had to work for $1 to go freaking to the gas station. Like we had to do. So a lot of people want to be their kids' friends now. And instead of parenting them first and becoming their friend later, so now they think everything they can do is cute, funny, cool. Let's go on social media. Let's blast all of our stuff because now you can go viral and get famous and start making money off of wild stuff. So now there's a lack of privacy. There's a lack of a lot, but I agree with that. But as far as I feel like me, Eric, and Jalen, and Dom, I feel like as far as how we raise our
Wendy.
Kids. Yeah. As far as how we raise our kids, like I feel like that's why there aren't the two that we talking about, there's iPads, but you know what I'm saying? But that's why we limit the, iPad interactions. That's why go touch grass. Let's go do something. That's why we choose to cause that social media, boy, you lock them in on them iPads, they can't hear what you saying, and they don't even got headphones on. That's why Isabel don't got one, because she be on Gigi iPad, and I be like, Isabel, and I'm in her face like, But anyways,
what you got, Jeri?
Mom, what could we change?
Honestly,
we're all mean. We're just all rude and mean.
I honestly, I have no qualms, because you got to make it happen how you got to make it happen. You got to raise your child the way you want to raise your child.
You do realize this is on film, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go
yeah.
on.
Bro, I'm over here like...
So there's nothing that you see
because
from...
Eric literally said to me, that's one of the reasons why I backed off too. Because when you were in the hospital, and you know this already, I had tried to FaceTime you, just check on you, right? I wanted, and you didn't answer. And then Eric called me back. What do you want? And I was like, I was checking on Wendy. Because to be honest, I feel me and you have had the tighter relationship than me and him. And it was during that, and I was like, oh, okay. Wendy, he was like, well, she don't feel like talking to nobody. I'm like, okay. And then it came into, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then he and I start texting, and he was like, well, because to be honest, both of you, both you and Mom Jeri, you both can be extremely overbearing. Thank you. Quite often. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I was like, all right, well, let me step on that thing.
Now she finna,
you
finna get off
she
here.
Like,
now
hold
she
on,
finna.
I'll be right back.
And so, while I...
Oh, bear this. He gonna go to his work site. He ain't gonna have tires no more. Gonna be sitting on 4 blocks.
Okay, I wouldn't have... So that was like a culmination of a lot of what we've talked about today, right? And I'm like, you know what? You all are entitled to your own opinion. And if that's how you feel, how can I adjust? Because I don't want to be perceived as being overbearing by anybody. Like, to me, that's a very negative connotation.
Well, now that I
when
know
all
that,
I was trying to do was check in on you all and do what I thought as a mom I should have been doing, which was check in, and specifically on you, right? Because you had just had the baby. And seeing how you were feeling and whatnot. And so for that to be the response, when I was like, it ain't like I've been blowing your phone up. I've been in chill mode. So I just was like, all right, let me just
see. That goes back to that disrespect and mean how they treat us. There's no reverence, because for you to say that, and we're just trying to check on you. You're our kids. Yes, I want to check on you. I'm not calling to bend your ear about what you're doing. Hey, what y'all got? So, y'all doing anything?
From my perspective, and I'm going to also attest to being Jayla's person at the hospital, and I'm the one who's texting y'all to, and I'm relaying the information to Jayla, and Jayla's like, I just can't right now because there's so much going on. And y'all are moms, y'all don't have kids. There's just so much that happens that it's like the nurses are coming in the room, then the doctor comes in the room, then the midwife comes in the room, then somebody who needs to change your IV comes in there. Like, you have no room to just close your eyes for a second. And with Jayla's situation is different because she had to be induced and all of that stuff that happened to her. And I'm her person relaying the information. And even with Eric, to talk about that, it was just like, Eric, you don't have to say it like that. Because I said to him, I was like, man, there's so many people texting my phone right now. I just want to close my eyes. There's so many people coming in the room right now. I just want to close my eyes. And then before you know, he's like, I got it. I'm like, I don't need you to say anything. And then before you know it, Eric texts, and I'm like...
Yeah, but like, we didn't even know he was born until like... Well, I didn't. I don't know about Jeri, but I don't know, 5 hours later
But
or
again,
whatever,
there's so much going on. Like, Jayla's at the house folding clothes for me. And I'm trying to just go through contractions. And I'm just...
Okay, so let me ask. If y'all kids got hurt and they're at school and they got hurt, and say the daddy happens to show up and starts telling, the teacher, okay, I got this and I'm doing this, and he don't say nothing to y'all for 5, 12, 24 hours. Mm-hmm. How are y'all going to feel as mothers? Because I'm telling you, I'm going to cuss you out.
I get it from that perspective.
I'm gonna punch you in your throat because I'm telling you, God, my baby
ain't gonna happen because daddy's not on the thing. But first of all, second of all, I am the emergency contact. Don't matter, I'm the contact. Then if you show up and you, but I feel like y'all hear. I feel like what you're hearing is, we don't want y'all involved in nothing that we got going on. Shut up, talk to me, blah 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 blah. Whole time it's like, bruh. Okay.
No, but how
if
about
you're
when
in
something
surgery
happens to me and you don't know and you're like, Mom, why didn't you Eric will tell me that. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you call? Why do I need to call you? I'm telling you now.
But
it's
do I say that to you?
Difference. I say yes.
When?
Anytime something has happened, I say that to my parents. When something happens to them and they don't call me. And I say, why didn't y'all call me and tell me?
Right. And then
they're like,
when it's you in that position, it's why do I need to call you? So then when it's us in this position, is why do I need to call you?
Exactly.
So why is that a problem?
It's a problem because we're
but
parents.
it's a problem when we do it to you, but it's not a problem when you do it to your parents.
Yeah,
it's that no.
We're all reciprocating the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Okay, and we're not understanding it's because we're parents.
But also,
it's our
I am a parent. But if my child is having a child, and she's with her baby daddy, or she got the people that she got in her room, I'm going to before this even happens, have enough understanding of who my child is. So that I know their triggers. I know what they like and don't like. I know, listen, I'm going to wait until you reach out to me because I know you don't want me on your phone all day. And I'm not saying that y'all were sitting there blowing up the phone.
We listen.
But also...
And we judge.
If I know who y'all always say, you got to know who you dealing with. If I know who I'm dealing with, why am I offended?
I'm
now, Eric, y'all always calling me the jerk, mean, rude. Eric can... hit you with the, what do you want? Okay, you already know Eric's a jerk because he feels like he don't like people in his business.
Yeah, but first of all,
he knows he's a jerk.
Eric. Right? I called Wendy.
Okay, but you called
after
the mother of his kid the day after she had a child, and you're expecting her to be like, "Hey, yeah, this is what's going on." I was out of commission.
Expecting her to be jumping around, skipping through the tulips. I simply was
you expected a response, Mom.
Okay,
but she don't respond. She don't respond on a regular basis to nothing.
Absolutely.
So
not.
I don't know
wait. Let's clear the air. She responds to me.
Anyway, to reel back this back in.
Yes.
So you respond to him?
Oh, to reel this back in.
Look, she's like, we're not talking about me.
Kids have anything to change in their parenting styles that they could learn from today, that they could utilize to be better parents? Nothing? Because I get what you're saying with they'll parent how they want to parent, but there's nothing that you feel like when Mom Jessica talks about the yelling, she felt like the kids said to her that she was yelling at them, but she doesn't. And again, just like Jayla said, we don't see the stuff that happened before,
right?
What we are seeing now. So, nothing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because honestly, I don't. I mean, I might say to you, don't yell at her like that. Don't talk to her like that. But I have to think, I might say it, but I wouldn't change because, I tell y'all all the time, I'm going to punch you in the back of your head or I'm going to punch you in your throat. Keep playing with me. All right. So,
we do not condone violence. She does, but we don't.
But, I would say that, but, I understand that how you parent them is how you parent. I don't know if I would change how you guys parent because I think the kids are just awesome and and I said this to you and Eric the other day. I'm just happy that you guys have kids so that I can be grandma. Can I just be Gigi? That's it. Because, you guys have done a phenomenal job, so I'm good.
Yes, you guys have.
I'm good.
I can't
you
wait
guys
to see them
awesome.
At like 5 and 10.
I see some parents and I'm like, see, couldn't have been my kids. or those. Yeah, my kid. And I tell people all the time, yeah, my kids and their kids, yeah, they wouldn't be doing this. So I'm grateful, because even though you guys don't always want to hear our isms and schisms or how we would do things, you guys really do some of the things that we do. And even though y'all give us grief about it, you actually still do some of the things. Your generation is totally different from mine, so I'm learning that. I'm okay with that. I'm good. I didn't know I was overbearing, and that to me is a little disheartening, and it's
Well, that's a conversation that you can have with Eric.
Well,
Eric has his own types of stuff.
I am.
So I want you to know that I was aware. I didn't know that you weren't aware, but I was aware, and I did send him a message, and I just said, "Hey, son, I understand what you're saying, but there is a way to say it." And I don't know if he shared that with you or not. And then I don't know if he did it that day or not, but he did respond again, and I'm just like, we're only coming from a place of love and support. That's it.
So
What?
What?
No, go ahead.
What were you about to say?
No, say what you guys say.
Yes, we gotta
You was about to
prepare
cuss me
land
out
the
just
plane.
now, huh?
Well, no cussing out.
But no, I was gonna say, I'm just sitting here thinking, and a lot of the things that we experienced as children and growing up, and fights with our siblings and just everything, like, I feel like, to be honest, why we get so on defense when it comes to, like, a lot of the things that we experience as adults and with our children, I feel like, because it's like, this is ours. You had your time to do what you did. We ended up how we ended up, so let us do what we got to do. And I feel like sometimes it does come from a place of, like, being scarred, being hurt, being annoyed, and feeling like we said yesterday at Denny's, I wish I had this mom that they got as a grandparent. I wish I had this dad that we got that they have as a pawpaw. It's just like, so sometimes I feel like when it does come to our kids, we do get a little like, stop talking to me, Jay, because you're about to blow me. Because you got all this wisdom now, but you didn't have that wisdom for me. And I understand you learn, you grow, you do you do the best you have with the information that you have at the time.
Do you understand that these are now our second chance?
Yeah, and I understand that, but it's just like,
have wisdom, but it's no different than my mom says this to me, and I feel the same way with y'all. You bring up, because I think it's just life, but we did have a lot of wisdom with y'all, and we did do better with y'all than our parents did with us.
Right.
But you all, for the majority of the time, and particularly on here, because you're talking about what you could do better, but it's like you remember the negative when in our minds, there's way more positive that outweighs the negative, but the light stays on the negative and the things, the shortcomings.
Right. I was just about to say, you can walk on both your feet, right? You can walk, yes. But we still complain that our foot hurt. But you can walk. That's the epitome.
I feel every day when I'm walking right now, in the middle of that pain, I'm thanking God that I'm back to being able to walk.
And we never tell y'all that y'all were bad parents. We never say, we didn't say
way more than you say.
Okay, so this goes back to the first question, accountability. We do tell you all the time we appreciate you. We do tell you all the time that we appreciate what you guys have done, because we don't be out here not saying, who are you, and talking to older people crazy. We don't be out here dressing wild and insane. We don't be out here walking around with our pants sagging. We don't be like, when people come up to y'all about us, then I'm like, oh, these kids is trifling. They be like, bro, y'all got some really good. You don't get kids like this no more. We don't sit here and defile y'all every chance we get. But when we bring up our trauma, our pain, our indiscretions about a situation, it is always looked at what my perceived notion about how it is looked at, how we get responded to is as if we're ungrateful because we did so much good for y'all and y'all just mad about this little old stuff that happened. That's how it feels. And I feel like a lot of the time, like everybody be like, and I just told Eric and Wendy this last night in the car, like everybody be like, you need a daughter for patience. No, I needed a daughter so that I don't want, Jayla, you better not.
Yes, you can get the Kleenex.
You better not. God gave me a daughter so that I could see what type of person I was, so I could see how beautiful I am, so I could see how great of an individual I am, because I never felt like that. I never felt like I was enough. I never felt like I did good. I never felt like I was beautiful. I never felt like any of that. I always felt less than. I always felt unseen, unheard, unappreciated. I always felt like there was a time where I hated my body. I hated myself. There was all of that. But like having my baby look at me every day and tell me, I love you. You're the best mom ever. You're so kind. You're so sweet. That just lets me know, like, God gave me a daughter so I could see who I was for myself. Because I'm trying to see who I am and people that I feel like didn't really show me that in the most vital times of my life.
Do you feel like I was like that towards you?
I feel like all of my parents were like that. I feel like because I experienced all the things that I experienced, and because I was always in trouble, I was just always a problem child. I was always
in trouble with me.
That's bro, like
she wasn't
me and you,
in trouble with neither.
majority of my high school experience, I was freaking in trouble, and it was always my fault that I was in trouble. It was never, why are you doing this? It was always, girl, you out here doing this because you're trying to be fast. You out here doing this because you're trying to, and it was always like I said, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, bro. Like, so to have a kid, I feel like that's also why, like, I be getting so, like, touchy about when people tell me how to raise my child, because I will never make my child feel like she can't express herself. I will never make my child feel like the things that she wants to accomplish, she can't, because I don't feel like they're accomplishable, or I don't feel like they're important, or I don't feel like they'll make her enough money. I want her to be, if she wants to be the queen of freaking McDonald's, I want to support her in that. And I don't want to make her feel like she can't do what she wants to do. I want her to always know that no matter what, you have to make yourself happy at the end of the day, not me.
Right.
And I feel like I feel like that's why now I'm gotten to a point of being confident in myself at 20 something years old, because I have a daughter and I have to show her what that means, and I have to give her those steps and those prompts to be able to know, like, what it means to love yourself, what it means to believe in yourself. Because I feel like without her, I would have never gotten to that point. And I just feel like.
Do you feel like I always told you that I made you feel unbeautiful?
No, like I do feel like you definitely supported me in what I wanted to do, but I wasn't around you 24/7. I was around them.
So you're saying you felt like we didn't?
Yeah, I feel like the things that I really, really wanted to do, I couldn't do because y'all didn't think that it was appropriate. Y'all didn't think it was okay, or y'all did. The irony of all of this is I was told I can't do YouTube because, one, it's not a career. I need to go to school, and I am sitting here helping you follow my dream.
So
you know how that makes me feel?
I told you couldn't do YouTube.
You did.
When did I tell you? When?
We had that.
I've been wanting to, bro. I used to want to do. I used to want to do music, like
Jayla,
do
I'm
covers.
the one that got you in lessons.
Mom,
I'm the one that. What do you mean?
And that's the problem. This is the problem. You only looking at this little old stuff. This didn't happen because I did so much good for you. But the things that you did that affected me a lot.
Okay.
And it's taken as offense. It's offensive towards you. This
You're
is my
talking
truth.
About when you were younger in high school, when YouTube first came out, and you were trying to start a YouTube channel. Before when you're not you're acting like that's something, Jayla. You're talking. That's when you're referring to.
No. this is a conversation we have had within the last 10 years prior to this.
And I can attest to that because...
Okay. Well, I'm so see, this is part of the problem because you guys are repeating stuff that Jayla said to y'all when Jayla has
Mom, we've had this, bro. We and you have had this conversation. You have told me that is not I say I want to do music. Well, you need to have a backup plan. You need to be going to school because if that doesn't pan out, okay, well then shoot. You can't do YouTube is not real. Like you need to go to the whole thing was go to school. When it's being an entrepreneurial spirit, you need to have a backup plan or you need to be going to school because that might not work out. You can't and the list goes on. So boom, shot. Do you know how wild it is? I love my baby sister with all my freaking heart. But the first thing that came out of your mouth when you bought her all of them clothes, them shorts, them crop tops, all of that stuff was, oh, I know your sister gonna be mad at me. You know how wild that is to me, bro? Like, and I have to be patient. I have to be forgiving. I have to be the one that looks at everything with the hindsight view 2020. I have to be that person. And I'm always there. I'm helping you. I'm supporting you. I'm helping you. I'm supporting you. I'm helping you. I'm supporting you. And I always have to be the bigger person. I always have to present myself in a certain manner. And then when I express myself, it's always a problem. This didn't happen like this. This isn't real. This isn't true. Or you're making this up. You're being dramatic. So y'all wonder why y'all only met 2 guys that I've ever dealt with for real. Y'all wonder why I don't kick it with people. Y'all wonder why I'll be so closed off to myself. And y'all wonder why sometimes I overshare. All of these have an effect, and y'all wonder why I allow my daughter to do certain things because I want her to be able to be so confident in herself that even if I say I don't like it, as long as she likes it, that's all that matters. And I don't think y'all really understand like how detrimental certain stuff in my life is. Like the fact that nobody ever like really asks me like why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and y'all all made assumptions, and I'm the only child that has to sit at the table with everybody because, oh, you're playing both sides. Whole time Jalen was playing both sides, Eric was playing both sides, and Dom was playing both sides, but let's get on Jayla because she's a girl. She can have babies. She can have STDs like they can't. Let's get on Jayla. And it's just like, I feel like all of the insecurities that y'all had, y'all put on me, G. And I have to be the one to carry that. And then I have to be the one to get over it. And then I have to be the one to grow through it. Then I have to be the one to still look at you and tell you everything's okay. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for taking care of me. And I have to be okay. Then I sit and watch 2 kids get to do whatever they want to do, have cars, go out with friends, come back home whenever they come back home, just communicate with me so I know you're doing what you're doing. But for me, it was a problem. Then my 3 older brothers get to do whatever they want to do, but for me it's a problem, and it's always because, oh, you lied. Niggas was lying, sneaking out the house, and they still got to do what they wanted to do. But me, it's the end of the freaking world, bro. Like, and y'all wonder why I'm so free. Y'all wonder why I worked at a strip club. Y'all wonder why, like, the list goes on, and it's just like wild to me because it's like, bro, like, I am like the epitome of like, I keep going. I am in overdrive. I am just so like, that's why I feel like it don't really be mattering to just sit and talk through certain stuff because it is what it is. Like, that's why I finally have gotten to a point where I don't care if y'all like me or don't at this point. I'm going to live my life for me for the first time ever because I have a daughter and I don't want her to ever see me ever put myself in a situation that is not okay, and I don't want her to ever see me feel like I can't speak up for myself because I felt like that for the longest time. I mean, it is what it is, like, whatever, but like, it is what it is. But thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
So
I'm done.
I mean, we're getting close to needing to land this plane, so I'll be the first to say.
And I don't want apologies. Well, I really don't want apologies. I'm just expressing, you know, how I feel. I mean, everybody feels their own way. Everybody feels like they didn't do stuff. Everybody feels like they did their best. And that's fine. And I genuinely appreciate all of you because, I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Well, I'm not saying I'm sorry. What I'm saying is I appreciate you sharing all of this information at once, very linearly. It does give context, and we've said this before, but now having it sounds like from A to Z is helpful. It is hurtful for me knowing that I had a part in this.
I don't know. I just felt like the first sign of betrayal for me when it came to like for real stuff was like the whole situation with old girl. And I was telling you that this lady like put an iron on my arm and like washed my mouth out with soap. And she was just like, no, I didn't. Like, she's lying. She was over there playing with my curling. Like, and it's like, you didn't believe me. And I feel like that is just where it just started going left. Like, dang, like, I am out here by myself at this point. The whole situation that happened with DeAndre. I mean, whatever dude name is. Jeri, whatever. I didn't want to say nothing because I'm like, bro, it don't even matter. You're not going to freaking believe me. To this day, you think that I had something to do with the whole situation that Jalen was going on. You really think in your brain that I had something to do with that. And I didn't. I didn't know I was in Rockford at the time that all this happened, homeless, living out of a freaking car. And I didn't even tell y'all because I was just doing I got arrested because I was stealing food. And I didn't tell y'all. Like, I've been through so many things alone. And then to this day, for you to sit here and tell me, like, I didn't believe you because it didn't make sense to me. I thought you were lying. Then you get told the exact information I relayed to you. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I still didn't believe you because I thought you was lying. It didn't make sense to me. Like, that is my life. Because stuff don't make sense to y'all, because it doesn't sound right, it doesn't sound appropriate, it doesn't sound how you want it to sound coming out of my mouth. It's just invalid, disregarded, not right, not okay, mean, rude, harsh, all the things.
I don't like the fact that you feel like you could not come to me and talk to me and tell me, because I've always been there. Bro, I've always told you, call me.
Everybody's always there until it's time to be there. Then you get told
I have
you're
always
tweaking.
Been there. Regardless, I'm the one that when you and dude got into it, you called me. I hop on the highway. Anytime anything were to happen, Jay, I'm Johnny on the spot for you. I stood up. When you would say things about Jessica, I stood up. I did. So you were never alone. You might have felt like it. But some of the tools that you were giving, you didn't use them. I can't do anything if I don't know. And how will I know if you don't open your mouth and say? And when you tell me, okay, all right, got it. The information today, I didn't know that Eric texted you and said, you and Mom Jeri can be overbearing. I never knew that. But now that I know he feels like that, okay. How will we know anything if you do not open your mouth and say?
Because majority of the time when we've opened our mouth and said something, it's shut down. Majority of the time when we open our mouth and say something, it's disrespectful, rude. We don't have no respect for nobody. We think we could say whatever we want to say and talk to anybody how we want to talk to. Then we come to you in a respectful manner. Oh, it's offensive. So again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we need help, why didn't you say something to me? If we need help, why are you coming to ask me for this? You should have this figured out. We're damned if we do, damned if we don't.
I do not.
So y'all get so upset with us about how we are reacting to you whole time, low key, like it's just getting to a point like, you know what? I'm a grown adult. at this point, and you gonna have to feel how you gonna have to feel about me, because you can't ground me anymore. You can't take away my phone anymore, and you can't tell me that. I mean, and even if you tell me I'm lying about something, it don't really matter, because I don't have to live with you. I don't have to look at you. I got my own life going on. I feel like that's also why, as we've gotten old, like, y'all don't just pull up at our house. Y'all came to 7742 twice. Once when I contemplated killing myself, and once when I needed help moving this stuff out. I lied 3 times when you came over, because you were just in the neighborhood. And I had been living there almost, outside of y'all helping me move in, I had been living there for almost 2.5 years.
But we did that to give you y'all space. We don't just show up at anybody's house.
But we just show up at y'all house. Y'all like us coming over here. Y'all talking about y'all want us to give us our space, but then when we ask it for space, it's disrespectful. But now it's just like, at the same time, you're our parents. We would love for our parents to be like, hey, we coming over today. What y'all doing? You know, it's always y'all coming over here. Hey, everybody come over here. Hey, y'all coming over here. Like, so it's just like,
again, I
don't want y'all to feel like,
that goes back to being like, hey, mom, hey, dad.
Because y'all never say that. You never say, hey, it'd be nice for y'all to come over here. You know who said that to me? The only one out of y'all? This one right here.
It's your fault.
The only one.
I call.
The only one. And so, but yeah, but you.
I was about to say, she probably the only person that just be popping up, because she just be doing what she be doing. But it's like,
I don't do anything. I come to see you guys.
You can literally. I can't speak for Jalen, Eric, and Dominic. I can't speak for them. I can speak for myself. Like, I would have loved if my parents just popped up on me, how I just come over here and pop up on y'all. Like, I would have loved that. And if I'm not home, or if I'm getting I would. If I'm not at home, and if I'm getting touched, I'm like, hey, and I'm not gonna answer the phone. You know what I'm saying? But like, at the end of the day, I'm like, dang, like, y'all really mess with me. I like that. Like, I be pulling, I'm telling you, like, I could have been going to a laundromat. I purposely waited weeks to do my laundry so I could be over here all day with my kid. I don't, like, and it's just like, I don't have to tell y'all, like, I'm pulling up. I just want to do it. And if anything, it's just like, I know things go both ways. But I feel like being cognizant of the fact that, I don't know, it's just crazy, because it's like understanding that you guys are just little kids too, that are in adult bodies that still want what you want. It's hard to like say certain things, because it's like, I'm a little kid in an adult body and I want what I want from my parents. So it's like, I understand both levels, but I feel like us 4 old, I can't say 4. I'll say us 3. Maybe us 4. I'll just put us 4 in there. Us 4 older ones, like, when it comes to Gabby and Dawson and how y'all like treat them, how y'all respect their differences with y'all, how y'all respect their autonomy with themselves, how y'all respect the decisions that they make, and allow them to make these decisions and have conversations like, okay, if you're going to do this, like, what's the course of action? And just how patient you are with allowing them to grow into their own individuality. Like, we wish. But
we jacked it up with you all. That's how we were able to navigate it.
And I understand that. But as adults now, y'all don't give us that. Y'all get mad at us because now we're trying to be individual adults, and y'all getting mad at us like, y'all niggas just, y'all get like, bro, like, isn't it crazy that at 30 now we're all starting to get to a point of doing things for ourselves?
So, Jeri, this is a conversation. Jessica, this is a conversation we had recently, correct? So if you want the training wheels to be off, the only reason we hang around and we're that freaking close is because we feel the birds are not ready to fly out the nest.
And
yet.
I told y'all multiple times about me. Y'all can let me drop, boy, and I'll figure it out. I've told y'all that. And we had that conversation sitting here for 2 freaking hours.
Right. But we'll also understand the impact that has on our grandchildren.
Listen.
It's not just you, Marche.
Listen. Y'all don't think we think about our kids? This is what I'm talking about. Y'all don't think that we think about our children? Y'all don't think that we think about what we got going on? Y'all don't think that we think about our future?
But what did I say? I said, let them hit their head. Let them go. They have to do it. And I did say that. I don't want certain things, but
so listen. The time, we need to land this plane. And there's a lot yet still to unpack. There's a lot yet that needs to be said. Mm-hmm. But Wendy, we appreciate the questions that you have brought forth. We would like to pick this conversation up again if time permits for you. Mm-hmm. But I also think behind this, there are additional conversations and healing that's required. Mm-hmm. Even though we are a very close-knit, tight group, there is still, and we want the audience to know that we are still a very close-knit.
We still locked in. Don't let this fool y'all.
Look, I was going to run out of here talking about some, but
So
he is the daddy.
Just keep that in mind, that even as you unpack stuff, you still have to be willing. Once you get things unpacked, be able to sort it out, be able to move forward. This is, again, not for show. These are real emotions. These are real, situations that we have not dealt with. And then if we thought we dealt with them, they are still very raw, very fresh. So again, Wendy, thank you. Jeri, thank you. I know you both had stuff going on, but we appreciate you all being here. Jayla, we appreciate your transparency and willing to divulge information that I didn't have. And as I told your brother years ago, all you had to do was call. Like Jeri said, all you had to do was call.
We still love.
At what part?
We love.
I was exiled. I was kicked out.
We love everybody.
You've never been exiled.
We love them all. No one is greater than the next. But I want you guys to know that even though I'm the ex-wife, that's my sister. That's still my guy right there. We locked in. We all locked in. We're family for life. And we're going to work through it. We're going to be better and be stronger than ever, because that's what families do.
Jess?
I can't talk right now.
Yes.
Well,
but we appreciate you
guys.
Tune
back into another episode, guys. I think this is a long conversation. It's not an ended conversation. It's a pause in the conversation. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn our post.
Did you have something, Wendy? Because since you started all this.
I guess I'm coming back. That's all.
Yeah. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn our post notifications on. And this week, I want you guys that are looking at this as a family, or if you're someone in a family, blended or traditional, sit down, have conversations with your kids, have conversations with your parents, and just ask them about things that they've never told you. Ask them, what haven't you told me that you would like me to know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you guys can start moving forward, working towards what you need to do, healing, if there's any healing that needs to be said, done, had, whatever. So thanks for coming to another episode of Pickens Realities and Blended Family Truths, where we talk about blended family matters, because blended families matter. Peace.